Okay, go ahead.
So how do they punish the civilians who interact with the U.S. troops?
Well, a couple stories my son told me was he was in charge of his unit, and as the ranking officer, he had to deal with the village elders. So it was his job to meet with the elders and ask, are there any roadside bombs around here? Do you know where the Taliban's hiding out? Just asking routine questions, which they usually won't cooperate with. But because he talked to some villagers, they took the children of those villagers, and in one case they took a 4-year-old boy and stuck his arms in a wheat grinder and ground his hands right off of his arms. And then another case they set a child on fire. There's pictures of the burned up child in there. And this is what happens if you even talk to U.S. soldiers. So we're facing that uphill obstacle also.
And back to, I know you mentioned the roadside bombs, so that made me remember the bombs that are in the ground, how some of them are activated by cell phones.
Yeah.
So
they use smart landmines, which are cell phone activated. So they'll plant a landmine field, maybe the size of a football field, and they'll come out into it to draw you out into the open and chase them. They'll get you to chase them across this field. And then just as they leave the field, they'll take their cell phones and they'll activate these landmines, which you're now right in the middle of. And all these weapons are all coming from all over the world. They're coming from China, Iran, Russia, Syria. Everybody in the world is donating weapons to the Taliban to help fight the U.S. It's a very odd situation.
Well, if we were to pull out totally, what do you think would happen? I mean, would that help us, or by this point are we in so far that it would hurt?
Well, if we went with our original mission, which was to keep the Taliban in check, we could do that by satellite. And we could probably seal their borders and seal them in, is what I recommend doing, pulling our troops out and seal them in and just watch them by satellite. Almost like a giant prison. But now the mission keeps changing to try to establish democracy and things like that. And this is a culture that's been tribal for thousands of years. They don't want democracy. They don't want it any more than we would want to be them to come over here and say, okay, you're now all tribal. Delaware's a tribe, and they don't want to see change. So we're trying to fight a diplomatic, peaceful war. We're trying to change a culture of thousands of years. We're fighting the entire world. We're just pouring weapons in there. It's a no-win situation.
So it's something where we can pull out and just let them go and let them kill each other. That's what they want to do. We're in so far that we would get it from not even those countries, but from countries all over the world.
I think we should just pull out, and freedom is a very costly thing. You have to be willing to die for it, and if they're not willing to die for it, then they really don't deserve it. That sounds harsh, but that's what we had to do when we freed this country. You have to be willing to give up everything. The signers of the Declaration of Independence in the United States at that time were guys like Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Donald Trump. They were the wealthiest of the wealthy that could have easily lived under Britain's rule and not been bothered a bit, but these guys were willing to give up their lives and their fortunes to free this country. And that's what they need to be willing to do, but they're only willing to let us do it. So we should pull out, and if they want freedom, they'll get it. But if they don't, then they don't. They have to live under the law. And we can't do this for every country in the world. Why aren't we doing it in North Korea? Because we can't beat North Korea. We can't beat these guys either. We're not willing to beat them. So they need to be made to sink or swim.